Good afternoon. This is Jack Martin with the Lead Advisor Group. Thank you, folks, for joining us today. Many of you know EAG from these marketing webinars we've been doing for the past several years. If you're new to us, glad to meet you. Our company is pretty unique. We're a consulting company, and we specialize in helping financial institutions, RIAs, and IMOs optimize their marketing efforts. And like you, we're really passionate about helping consumers achieve better retirement outcomes. And we've been really successful over the last few years in helping advisors and institutions accomplish that. So today's webinar is part 2 of the Insider Insights for professionals, planning professionals. Specifically, we're going to dive into the subject of the 4% rule and deferred income annuities. Before Kerry comes on and starts talking, I've got just a couple of quick housekeeping things for you. We're going to be recording this webinar, and you're going to be able to find us on YouTube. We're going to send you a link that'll take you to that YouTube recording. It'll be in a follow-up email that you'll get from us. So watch your inbox. It'll take Ryan a couple of hours to get that recording whipped into shape and get it posted to YouTube. So at the very latest, I would say tomorrow morning, you should see an email from us, and it'll have the link for you to listen to the replay and share that replay if you like. Today, we're also taking advantage of the GoToWebinar technology. On this toolbar on the right, you see the questions box there. So you can type in any questions that you might have as we're going through the presentation, and Kerry will definitely effort to get through all of those as best we can. In order to stay tuned into the next of these webinars we might do, make sure you're following us on Facebook and LinkedIn and tracking our blog. That way we'll make sure that you're current on all of the events we're offering. Kerry does have an exciting offer. He's got a great publication. He's got an exciting offer. If you'll hang on, this is going to be a pretty fast-paced 45-minute presentation. And when we get to the end, Kerry will tell you all about that offer. So our guest speaker today is Kerry Pechter. He's the publisher of Retirement Income Journal, RIJ Advisor. He's the author of Annuities for Dummies. And he's really passionate about this retirement income space. Kerry, tell us a little bit about how RIJ got started.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Retirement Income Journal is 4 years old. It started. I left Source Media, where I was editor of Annuity Market News and Retirement Income Reporter, and started this on my own in May of 2009. And it became it went behind a paywall in the end of the year, and it's been pretty much embraced by the industry because there's not anything really quite like it. I'm also author of Annuities for Dummies, and in fact, there's a chapter in that book about these advanced life deferred annuities, which is what we're going to be talking about today, also known as deferred income annuities. I have 2 publications. One is Retirement Income Journal, which comes out weekly, which covers the big picture of retirement and the retirement manufacturers, the insurance companies and mutual fund companies. And then there's a supplement called RIJ Advisor, which comes out every 2 weeks, may eventually become its own publication, and that's more aimed at advisors and their point of view, how to become experts in retirement income and to carve out a specialty in that area. Okay, to lay a little bit of foundation before we start talking about deferred income annuities, it's necessary to talk just a little bit about the 4% rule. Because that's going to be sort of our foil for discussing DIAs. Now, everyone's favorite rule of thumb in retirement distribution is the 4% rule, as described by Bill Bengen in his article back in the 90s. Now, I think more accurately, the original recommendation was 4.2% annual payout with upward adjustments for inflation, and the premise was that this is the withdrawal rate at which your clients would never run out of money no matter how long they live. And it's actually, I've heard the withdrawal rate even estimated lower than that for people who want their assets to cover health expenses and legacy on top of retirement income for necessities. Now, the 4% rule is currently under attack. I think probably some of you have seen the Wall Street Journal article that came out in the last few days by Kelly Green. A lot of headlines have advertised the death of the 4% rule, and I think attacks on it are, in a way, a little silly because it's a straw man. From what I've heard at various conferences that I've gone to, the 4% rule was never really intended to be a prescription. It was more of a calculation for the highest safe withdrawal rate. In other words, the best way to avoid outliving your money without using an insured solution. So it was more of a lower, it was a boundary rather than a strategy. And I'm surely no one expected that, say, an 85 or 90-year-old person with adequate savings at that point should still be rationing out his savings at the rate of 4% per year. And I don't think that Bill Bengen ever intended that. Now that said, the 4% rule works great for some people. It will work fine for people who are in the group, what we call the green zone. As we discussed in the last seminar, using the advisor Jim Otar's terminology, the green zone describes people who have enough money to finance their retirement regardless of what happens in their personal lives or in the financial markets. Whether they have a black swan in their household or they have it, or there's one in society, they'll be fine. They can afford to live on a 4% payout by definition. If they have $1 million and their annual expenses above and beyond Social Security, pensions, and earned income are less than $40,000, then they have nothing to worry about. And it's also easy to understand the appeal of the 4% rule. It allows for 100% investment, which means maximum upside potential. It speaks to our ingrained desire not to tap into principal during retirement, since most of us are confident that we can earn at least 4% in the markets and therefore spend only what we earn. And there's also a perception that the maximum potential upside of the 4% rule will produce the greatest legacy value. So that's fine. As far as it goes, the 4% rule is great for those who can take advantage of it and if it fits their attitude towards risk. But then the situation is a little different when we're talking about people who are in the yellow, Jim Otar's yellow zone. These are people who have, say, $500,000 in investable assets, and they need more than the $21,000 a year that the 4.2% rule is going to give them. But if they take out more money than that each year, they would risk running out of money at the end of their lives. So the question is, how do these folks deal with that uncertainty? And this kind of uncertainty is what we call longevity risk, which takes us to our next slide. Now, the simple fact is that we don't know how long we're going to live, and this has tremendous financial implications. We can make estimates, and people do, based on how long their parents lived, but there is a great deal of uncertainty. Living longer than we expect to live can be a good thing. Many people wish to live a long time, but there's the risk that you'll outlive your financial resources. That's longevity risk. Now, your clients are probably going to live longer than average. They've probably taken good care of themselves. We know that wealthier people who are often highly educated and with access to good health care and medical insurance over their entire lives live longer on average than the general population. The average life expectancy for someone who reaches age 65 is 18 years, give or take a year depending on whether they're a man or a woman. That means that half of the people who reach age 65 will live past age 85, and we know that the majority of those post-85-year-olds will be women. Now, couples have more longevity than single people. At age 65, a man has about a 24% chance or about 1 in 4 of living to age 90. At age 65, a woman has a 35% chance of living to age 90 on average. But there's a slightly better than 50% chance that at least one member of a male-female couple will live to age 90. That's more than we usually plan for. There's a 22% chance that at least one member of a 65-year-old couple will live to age 95. If you're advising 20 retired couples, that means that about 4 of them will have one member living to age 95, which is a fairly high percentage of your clientele. Now, why does longevity risk matter? Because getting it wrong is very expensive. Let's say that a couple plans on making their savings last to age 90, but one of them lives. What happens if one of them lives to age 95? How much will those extra 5 years cost? If you factor inflation between now and then, it's going to cost a lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It would be a catastrophe to fall short. You can try to save enough to last to age 95, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there's only a risk that it will happen, not a certainty. You can set aside a granny fund to use if you happen to live that long, but that may require a degree of hoarding that will turn out to be unnecessary. So what you have here is a classic insurable situation. When the risk is small but catastrophic and you don't have enough assets to cover any eventuality, the cheapest way to deal with this is to insure against it. The very wealthy can afford to go without the expense of health insurance or car insurance or life insurance or longevity insurance because they can self-insure against it. But then there's the vast majority of the rest of us. And as a financial advisor, you're probably not used to thinking in terms of insurance or in terms of the logic of insurance or what the academics call the utility of insurance. But that is the kind of solution that longevity risk points to, because the risk is not great but catastrophic, and that is a classic. The alternative is to hoard against it, but that's very expensive, and it's inefficient. Now, I'm not a pusher of annuities by any means. I've written a lot about them, and I believe that except for people who are in the green zone, everyone else really needs to understand it because it's under certain circumstances and certain kinds of risks that makes a lot of sense. And I think that in longevity risk, insuring the tail makes a lot of sense. If there's any annuity that makes sense, it's longevity insurance. So we can go on. Now we'll get a little bit down to the nitty-gritty of the matter. What is a DIA? Well, this is probably you've heard. It's a new term probably to you because the whole thing is new and there is no real trade name for it yet. It's a deferred income annuity, and there's nothing particularly complicated about it. Everybody knows what a single premium annuity is, or an income annuity. You put down a lump sum today, and within 13 months, you start taking in income, usually a monthly income and usually a fixed income, but sometimes a quarterly income and sometimes a variable income. The income can last for a lifetime or a lifetime with at least 10 to 20 years of guaranteed payments. It can be for a specific period. It can be inflation adjusted. It can last as long as one person lives or as long as either of two people is alive. Its price depends on prevailing interest rates, the age at which the person buys it, and other factors. Now, a deferred income annuity is just like a SPIA, except that you buy it anywhere from 10 to 40 years before you expect to take income. Now, the appeal of doing this is that you're buying a SPIA at a discount, and you're also benefiting from the fact that your client will be 10 to 40 years older when income starts, so the payments will be greater. That's the so-called mortality credit or survivorship credit, which is the main selling point of annuities. The mortality credit represents the benefit of pooling mortality risk, and the mortality credit is, in a sense, mathematically, I guess, it's literally the flip side side of longevity risk. Now, deferred income annuities used to be called advanced life deferred annuities, or ALDAs, which was a cumbersome name that not many people other than the academics used. Now,
so Kerry, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Because you covered a lot of stuff in a really short period of time, and folks, if you guys want to, if you have questions about this, type those in, and we'll jump on them. Something you said was yesterday that was really interesting to me was that these didn't really exist until 14 months ago. You said, why is that?
Yeah, that's yeah. I was just about to get there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now nobody bought advanced life deferred annuities, even though they were actually cheaper than today's DIAs, and offered higher payouts for the same premium, and nobody was paying attention to them because the stock market was doing so well at the time. But they've been selling well over the past year or so for two reasons: the low interest rate environment and a change in the required minimum distribution laws. Now, as for the low interest rates, it's not that deferred income annuity rates have gotten better. On the contrary, it's that the rewards for everything else are either too poor or too risky for retirees. Now, the payout rates from DIAs are like any life contingent annuity, a combination of a mortality credit, which is the money from people who have left the pool and died, the interest accrual, interest from the underlying bond investments, and a piece of principal. So taken together, those streams now produce a yield that is, especially as you go up in age, greater than the yields from bonds and eventually greater than the yields from stocks, hence their appeal. So for comparison, if you're only getting 4% from the Bengen rule, you get about 7% from an immediate annuity, and you get about 12% if you buy a deferred income annuity and wait 10 years to take income. Now, that's not, of course, entirely an apples-to-apples comparison, but it's a meaningful comparison if your goal happens to be guaranteed income. Now, about 14 months ago, the government tweaked the RMD rules to make it easier for people to use qualified money to buy DIAs. There was never any problem with after-tax money, but using qualified money, of course, at age 70 and a half, there were RMDs on tax-deferred retirement savings. And I'm pretty sure that under the new rules, you can exclude up to 25% of your tax-deferred savings from the RMD so that you can put that much money into a deferred income annuity that doesn't pay out until well after age 70 and a half without worrying about taking RMDs. Jack, does that answer your question?
It did. It did.
Yeah.
Someone had a question, and if you're going to get to this in a second, then we can wait. But their question was about this trade-off between low interest rates today, and if they lock in now and interest rates go up, there's some kind of risk factor there. So obviously the trade-off there is, as you get older, it's more expensive to buy these, right? Than it is now.
It's cheaper. Oh, you mean if you delay the purchase?
Right.
Yes, you're looking at now. These numbers have been crunched at a website called QWEMA, QWEMA, where you can calculate what kind of return you have to get or improvement you have to get in order to justify delaying an annuity. I've done, let's say, the answer to the question, the answer to the heart of the question is it's a matter of waiting. If your goal is income and locking in certainty, you sort of have to take that hat off of thinking of this as a good investment or a bad investment. It's more about how much income are you going to need, and whether it costs you $225,000 today or $200,000 today to buy the income that you need. That at this point, that really doesn't matter. Now, partly what you're doing, though, is you're making up by the attractiveness. The reason that the DIA is selling is because the discount that you get plus the mortality credit as you go up in age, the mortality credit becomes a much bigger factor in the payout of the annuity than the interest rate. So these products are, as you move out to say a start date that's about 85, the main component of that payout is going to be the mortality credit, and the interest rate will have play a smaller role. So it doesn't matter as much. I admit that you wouldn't want to buy an immediate annuity today because the interest rates are so low. But when you're going out, when you're pushing the purchase out, the discount that you get is helping you overcome A, the low interest rate, B, the load that is implicit, the sales load that's implicit in the annuity purchase, and C, the 10% that you pay, the 10% extra that people pay when they buy an annuity because the insurance company knows that people who buy annuities live longer. So the quick answer is by pushing the purchase out, you overcome some of those considerations. But the philosophical answer is we're talking outcomes now. We're not talking return. And so it's the certainty that takes precedence over the way we're usually used to thinking about dealing with our money and the return that we get. This is about outcomes, not return. Jack, is that
excellent?
That,
excellent. That covers it exactly. So
okay. Not that these decisions are easy. These are really, really hard decisions, and they are difficult. There's no question about it. They're not for every client. There are some clients where a light bulb will go on if you tell them, I don't have to worry. We'll get into this later, but for the right person, this is the right key. Now, I did want to say something just very quickly about I'm sure all of you are familiar with variable annuities with guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefits, where you get a roll-up. Well, I mean, these products are less rich now, but where you got a roll-up and then 10 years or 12 years down the line, you took income and you got that income for life. Well, the GLWB provides almost exactly the same sort of protection as a DIA, except with lower payout rates and higher fees. So, and what you're paying for there is liquidity. There's generally less liquidity with the DIA, but a higher payout. Now, the GLWB is excellent for insuring against sequence of returns risk because your client can drop the GLWB rider once he or she is out of the so-called retirement red zone, where their portfolio is at greatest risk of a downturn, and they can drop it, and it becomes very flexible. It has the appeal of flexibility and liquidity, but you get a lot of liquidity because you pay a high price for it. So, but they both insure tail risk, longevity tail risk. Now, that said, the deferred income annuity manufacturers have been very careful to build liquidity options into their products, which brings us. Let me see if I covered. I didn't hit. Let me go back to the optimal start age. Rule of thumb: if you buy an immediate annuity now at age 65 and you get a 10-year period certain, you'll find that the payouts for a life only and a 10-year period certain at age 65 are virtually the same. That's because so few people die between age 65 and 75. So what that's also telling you is that you don't really get much mortality credit from having an annuity between the ages of 65 and 75. It's not until and that's the logic of the deferred income annuity, is that the mortality credit doesn't become significant until, basically, to put it crudely, other people start to die. And if there's an optimal start age for the deferred income annuity, which is another way of saying when is the annuity, when is it very cheap but also very useful, because you don't want it when it's at its cheapest, because it'll be extremely cheap at age 99, but you're not going to get very many years use out of it. So the optimal start age is at the average longevity, which for 65-year-olds is about 85. So for that reason, the rule of thumb would be to start. The sweet spot for pricing on the DIA is going to be about 85. But now let's go over to the products, which is where all the action is. Now this is we have now New York Life was not, the New York Life product came out in July of 2011, and there were DIAs before that. They were called longevity insurance and deferred income annuities, but they've got very little attention, as I said. And then MetLife had a product, but the first one to get the big marketing push was the New York Life product, which came out in July 2011.
Hey,
and
Kerry.
Pardon?
Kerry, we had just one quick question, speaking
Sure.
of acronyms. So what is a CDA, and how does it relate to this discussion?
Oh, well, a CDA, also called a standalone living benefit. A CDA is a GLWB that has been unbundled. It's a GLWB that you can attach to a managed account. And so it's, like I said, the GLWB and the DIA do similar things. But with the GLWB, what you're doing is you're paying for the same sort of protection 1% a year at a time. So let's say you buy your GLWB or your CDA for your managed account. The beauty of the CDA is that you don't have to buy a variable annuity and deal with the tax implications of that in order to get a GLWB type protection. You get that rider. You get the GLWB rider on a account of your own choosing and outside of a variable annuity. So and you pay for it different way. You pay for the DIA with a lump sum. You pay for the GLWB longevity risk protection 1% of your assets a year at a time.
That's great. I'm sorry to take you off that. We had that question pop up.
No, but that's
back
okay.
to New York Life.
No, this is the GLWB. It's very important to talk about the CDA and the GLWB in relation to the DIA, because they both provide essentially the same kind of coverage. Because a CDA doesn't really pay out. You're not on the insurance company's dime until after age 85. Okay, so the New York Life product, to many people's surprise, took off. It had much less payout than the DIAs of 3 years before or 4 years before, but where they were ignored, it took off. And it was selling. It took off. In New York Life is the immediate annuity leader, and they have a captive sales force, so they were able to really put a focus on this thing. The company knows how to sell this type of annuity, and they have the sales force to do it. And it started selling $100 million a month, which is big money in the immediate annuity world, in the life contingent annuity world. And everybody else has taken notice. And in this business, lies in other areas, flattery is the highest form of, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So since then, you've had Guardian has come out, American General has come out, I think Symetra is out, Integrity with a trial distribution, and then even Prudential and ING. And what's significant about Prudential and ING is that these are, and MetLife too, is New York Life and Guardian and Mass Mutual are mutual companies, and they're going to offer you a very stable, staid kind of product, whereas the publicly held companies like a MetLife and a Prudential and ING and its spinoff, I'm not sure what it is now, but they will offer more market friendly with products with bells and whistles, because a public company needs a killer product. They need to make a killing. The mutual companies only need to make a living, but for the analysts, the public companies have to make a splash. So you will find that their products have more bells and whistles. So there's no time to go into all the particulars of each of these products. They all have their little differences, but let me give you an example of the kinds of payouts that they have. Like New York Life, for instance, they just told me that for a single man, 65 years old, $100,000 premium, 10-year deferral, and that's with a cash refund at death to the beneficiaries both before and after income starts. It's return of premium before income starts, and then it's net of withdrawals after income starts is the death benefit. But that on a $100,000 premium, you're getting $12,400 a year after 10 years. So at age 75, you'd be getting that much. Other products are like the Mass Mutual and the Guardian products are in line with that. Now within Prudential and MetLife's products are you can play with these numbers by going out 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, and get a variety of payouts. But that's what it's going to be. And the difference between buying it 10 years in advance, you get about, so if you bought a $100,000 single life today for from New York Life, you might get a payout of about $7,000 a year. So you're getting about 1.5 times as much, or a little more than that, by going out 10 years on your payout. And I'm sure that some of you are crunching the numbers in your head to see how much you'd have to earn in the meantime and it's going to be small. And most advisors will say, well, I can beat that, and I'll buy an immediate annuity in 10 years rather than put and then I'll have the $100,000 to work with over 10 years. Well, yes, but remember, we're in outcome world now, and you're now financing a pension. And so just as all the pundits are now telling the pension funds, you must invest at the risk-free rate. You can't go into the stock market anymore. If you're going to bring this pension in on budget in 10 years, you've got to be more conservative. That's the kind of mentality. It's not a mentality of I can beat that, even though that's the way we're all reflexively thinking. It's a matter of I'm a pension fund now. I'm a pension fund manager, and so this is guaranteed. So it's a whole new way of thinking it's almost like the other side of the mirror for an advisor who's used to thinking about investments. It's turning your cap totally around and thinking about outcomes. But that is where we are with the boomers. We're talking about outcomes. Now, just a minute, I just want to give you a flavor of what the Prudential and the ING folks are doing. The Prudential, they're not offering their DIA as a life contingent annuity. It's a variable annuity with a guaranteed 5.5% roll up and a guaranteed 5% payout. 5.5% increase for each year that you delay income to the benefit base, and which means that, and then 5% payout, which means that you get about $8,500. You get about $8,500 on $100,000 after 10 years, way less than the $12,400 that you get from the New York Life product. But you can reach into that Prudential account anytime you want to. Of course, it's protected by there are ongoing fees and there are surrender fees, so you have to look at that very carefully. ING product just came in over the transom about a week ago. They're going for the same market, but they're going to do it their way, which for ING now is they produce it as a fixed indexed annuity. So you can, so your returns are tied to the S&P 500 index with a 6% annual cap, or the greater of 100% of premium guarantee of the benefit base after 5 years, or 225% of premium after 10 years. And then you annuitize it like a GMIB, a guaranteed minimum income benefit. My apologies to those of you who are not used to working in the murky world of insurance rider acronyms. But anyway, so what you're doing is you're getting the public companies, the INGs and the Prudentials, jumping into the same space, but doing it their way, which is not the general account method. I guess I want to wrap it up now and then open it up to questions.
We had one more question while we're on this product page, Kerry.
Sure.
So the question was, how do these compare to an FI, a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider? I think that's what you said, the approach that ING was taking. Do you have some relative sense, of what the dollars look like? You said $12,000 some odd dollars for a New York Life or a Guardian or Mass Mutual, something in that range. And you said $8,500 roughly for a Prudential sort of thing. So is the comparison that simple? Is that is that an apples to apples? I mean, help us along there.
Well, the difference is liquidity. That's the main difference. You have to die to get a cash refund out of the New York Life product, and that's why they liquidity is the big trade-off. The more liquidity you got, the less guaranteed income you got. That's just the way it is. And now, what I have failed to say so far is that each one of these products, like the New York Life product, you can customize most of these guaranteed products to fit your needs for liquidity. Like, for instance, the American General product offers an optional 6-month lump sum cash payment twice during the contract period for people who use non-qualified money. And with New York Life, if you want to say buy it a 10-year delay, get the cash refund if you die, then you can get it with a 10, 15, 20-year period certain after you start payments. I mean, a 15-year period certain means that you get all your money out. I kind of dodged the question on FIAs with guaranteed income benefits because I call to me the FIA is like a knuckleball. Between the time once it leaves the pitcher's hand, neither the pitcher, the batter, nor the catcher really knows how that ball is going to behave, and it's just very hard to eyeball them. And if you're talking about, and those products are very conservative. They will give you a higher payout. They'll give you a higher age band payout if you wait, but they keep cutting down the caps, and so those things are black boxes, and they're very finely tuned. And the word on the street that I have heard, and this is totally unconfirmed, is that on the living benefit riders, the insurance companies have believed that they end up paying out about only 1 in 6 of those contracts is going to be in the money, and also you get a lower payout if income is your goal. You will always get a lower payout from them on the back end. You'll only get 5%. The most you'll get, even if you wait, well, if you have a roll up and it goes to double, and then you get 10%, and so you get 10,000, say, after 10 years. I mean, really, there is a simple answer. On most of those, you get a 5%. If you get a double your money roll up over 10 years on the benefit base, then you get a 5% payout. So you're looking at 10% of premium in 10 years. That's the rule of thumb on them. And so that's compared to, so you have more liquidity with them, but with the New York Life, you're getting 12,400 instead of 10,000. Now, if interest rates go up in a couple of years, it's totally changed, and all these numbers will change. And but what we're talking about here is not. You can't quibble about money. I mean, for instance, you can't, like when you go in to buy one of these DIAs, you might say that one company is paying out higher than the other. Well, it's not always a no-brainer to go with that company. New York Life is New York Life because they've got so much money on reserve, which means you're not going to get the best prices, but you're going to get the most security. So it's outcomes. It's outcomes, and if you want to lock in something for the future and make sure it's there, you don't always quibble about, is it going to cost 10% more or less? I mean, you're at age 88, nobody's going to be worried about whether you paid, $243,000 or $219,000 for this product. You're going to be you want to know about it's the check. Okay.
So, no, that's excellent. Hey, everyone who's on the line, this is an excellent reason why you should be subscribing to Kerry's journal, because he's covering these products in each issue and keeping you current about what's going on with respect to analyzing them. So this is an evolving product. There are more and more choices for you and for your clients out there. And the challenge for all of us is to figure out what's right for each client. Wouldn't you agree? So great job, Kerry. Did you want to go into your wrap-up now, or do you want to stay on product? So
now the question is, well, you still have to present these things to people, and incidentally, you also have to get over the annuicide thing about moving money out of an asset-based portfolio. There's a new convention that Retirement Income Industry Association and CANEX have been working on so that you get you can charge a diminished fee on the money that's in the annuity, but that's an issue for another day. But to sell these things to clients, they're not going to be for every client. Some clients, a light's going to go on, and they're going to say, "I am so relieved. Now I don't have to worry about X." But there are other reasons. So there's a couple of reasons to sell this. One is they have more freedom to invest for growth. A person has $1 million. They spend $150,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 of that. They put it into a DIA and take that risk off the table, so that between 65 and 85, you and they have a lot more freedom to invest for growth. Now, it would be it's Pollyanna-ish to say this, but I mean, in theory, you would have enough more freedom to invest for growth between 65 and 85 because you're not hoarding, because you're not reserving against that tail risk, that you could make enough money to pay for the DIA itself. I mean, who knows? But that's a potential. This is intangible, but there's research that shows that people who have this kind of security feel better. They love the peace of mind. I mean, that's the whole idea here. Once it gets locked in, it's like having a pension. It's a pension that you have to pay out of pocket for, which makes it not as comforting as a company bought pension, but it's the same peace of mind. And then there's not, this is way overlooked, and this is related to the reserving question. The many people hoard in retirement and enjoy their retirement a lot less than they could. This is especially for the moderately wealthy. They are saving so much, especially if they're worried about illness, and they're hoarding against. And I mean, the number of people, the million, I know millionaires next door who are still clipping coupons and getting the blue plate special at 4 o'clock at the restaurant. I mean, they especially if they were, if they didn't grow up rich. But there's a lot of hoarding that goes on against future worries, and people can get anorectic about their money, and they don't enjoy it as much. You take this risk off the table, more enjoyment of life. And also, if it's a man that's making the decision, chances are good, not always, that it's his wife that he's going to be protecting, and it's a nice thing for the spouse. And then I should emphasize, these are easy to customize, and they are increasingly, the old conception that you buy an annuity, you get run over by a bus the same day, you lose all your money. I mean, that's just not the way it is. Whatever level of there is a product, and there is a feature that makes these things. You can customize them to whatever your need, whatever your flavor is, whatever your need for liquidity, whatever your need. That's the way they design these products, is to overcome the negatives. And there is really a way to customize. You can find your risk return comfort zone with at least one of these versions of one of these products. Now, I just talked to Canex. I don't know if all of you are familiar with this, but individual advisors, Canex has a website, and they have tools for running scenarios on DIAs and SPIAs on their website. And now they generally sell their services to broker-dealers, and the broker-dealers make it available to their advisors. But I just spoke to Canex, and they said that individual advisors can go there and can get a subscription to use their tools. And you can get a little crazy with them. I mean, because there's so many scenarios. You can run different ages. You can run single, spousal, start at 75, start at 85. You can for those who like doing that, you'll really enjoy it. But they have the tools where you can run the numbers on the deferred income annuity. I don't know any place else that has a similar tool. And the tools are based on they also keep all the latest payout figures for the products. So the quotes that you're getting on those tools are based on averages of up-to-date market prices. So I can't recommend that too much. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Let's see. We had one person wanted to know if you can do a 1035 exchange on an unqualified annuity into a DIA. Do you know if you can?
Well, if it's out of the surrender period, and I believe one annuity to another period is one annuity to another is you can do a QDIA. Did he say non-qualified?
Non-qualified.
Well, if it's non-qualified and it's out of the, you've got the build-up, which is yes, I believe that you can do a 1035.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that if you have just a reminder, if you have a person who's in a GLWB that's deep in the money, and it's one of the older ones with very generous benefits, you may want to hang on to that. There's an advisor named Mark Cortazzo you might want to talk about. He's making a little bit of a side business in helping advisors take advantage of some of those older GLWBs. They might even be better than a DIA.
Excellent. One other question that came up several times was, will this be replayed? And the answer is there is a replay of this. There is a recording. It'll be on YouTube, and you'll get that link when that email will be in your inbox probably tomorrow morning. So, Kerry, you want to talk about the promotion you're offering folks today?
Yes. My journal, Retirement Income Journal, is it costs for individuals it costs $219 a year. If any of you are LPL advisors, LPL has purchased a site license, so you can talk to your LPL or you can talk to me, and there are ways that you're already covered. But for the rest of you, there's a 10% discount on the $219. It's $199 if you use the coupon code webinar if you go to the website and hit subscribe and then register using that code webinar, you get 10% off the subscription. Also, I also have a trial subscription available. If you go on the website and you enter the coupon code trial in all caps, that will get you a month-long subscription. Also, I should say that I offer a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy in the first several months with Retirement Income Journal, I will reverse your payment and make you whole. Also, we have for anyone who's on today's call, you can get a free download of what I believe are the most valuable 50 pages in a very valuable book for advisors from Wiley Finance last year, called Someday Rich, which Russell has it's from Russell Investments. They have a very interesting decumulation program and theory, and it's a terrific book, and you can get the download of a very relevant 50 pages for free after this webinar.
And the link to download that's going to be in the follow-up email that you'll get as well. So all of that will be coming to you. So I think that wraps up the questions, Kerry. Great job. Thank all you folks for hanging in there today, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Kerry, anything you want to say to wrap up?
No, annuities are very interesting. It's a tough decision to go into one, because there's nothing more painful than giving up liquidity for anyone. But we're in a whole new ballgame now, and we're talking about outcomes and not probabilities, and that's a new mindset for all of us.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Kerry. Thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks, and have a great day.
So long.